What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we are going to start restoring the Element suspension. The coilover situation didn't work out how I liked it. Unhappy with the ride quality. I don't want it more bouncy than stock. So we're going to get to work and try getting out a lot of suspension pieces changed out today. We have a brand new set of quick struts we're going to install. We got these Max Speedy Rides rear lower control arms that they make for the Element and RSX. What we're also going to do is replace all the sway bar end links. I want to do the front lower control arms just to hopefully restore the bushings that are in those. Then we're going to do the front ball joints and the outer tie rod, since we're going to have to get the Element realigned. If you watched my previous video when I just first put the Max Speed rods on, it put the toe out of whack big time in the front, so I had to have the Element aligned. I did, however, add a rear camber kit, and that was another issue that I wanted to address, because when you set it up, like, it's difficult to measure the camber yourself unless you have some sort of tools and maybe doing the string method. So I had him just take care of the toe and camber in the rear. Ride's great now, it drives straight, it's just a little bumpy, so we're going to get to working on all these parts today. So I'm not going to give you a walkthrough on how to do the quick struts. That's relatively easily. If you're curious on how to do that, you can click this video up here in the corner. I did these, when I put the coilovers on, I kind of did you a walkthrough on everything that was needed to be removed to get these replaced. It's relatively simple on the Element. I'll give you a small run through on the lower control arms. That's pretty easy though. You just have the 3 bolts here and you have the 1 on this side. The only thing you will need is this 10-point 19mm. It's a socket specifically for the OEM bolts that are on there already. They have a 10-point, it's not a 6-point bolt there, so you need that. I'll give you a walkthrough on how to do the lower control arms. We're going to try the ball joints out, the outer tie rods. That's relatively easily just removing them and getting them set up. I'll try to adjust it as close to stock as possible so it rolls straight to the alignment shop. And then of course the sway bar end links, which attach to the lower control arms and the sway bar itself. And quite a while ago I was sponsored this impact gun. We're going to use this new one on the job today. This one's supposed to be more powerful. It's supposed to last just as long, and we're going to give it a shot. This is made by CC. I've been using this one pretty religiously. It's taken a little bit of abuse here and there, but I've had no issues with it so far. My only complaint was the lightweight sockets. I like my sockets set better. They seem to be a little bit more heavy duty, and when I was trying to break some things loose, these thin sockets didn't seem to do the job. We're going to use this throughout the entirety of the job today, from the lug nuts, control arms, everything we can, using this gun and put it to the test, see if we can't get some good use out of this one alongside my current one and my Milwaukee that I have still been using forever. So let's get started, see if we can get this thing back to riding more comfortably and just enjoying it on a daily basis again. Here's the lower control arm on the Element, and getting this off is going to require a few things. So of course it's attached to the sway bar and the sway bar end link. There's a bolt right here, there's the other bolt right there, and then the third mounting position is the ball joint, which is attached to the knuckle. I think the obvious route first is to get the brake caliper off the knuckle, because we don't want this line coming with it. Really easy on the back side here. It is, let me double check, 217mm bolts. There's one on top, and there's going to be one straight down directly on bottom. Get both of those removed, and let's slide the caliper off of the hub. So what I'm doing here, have these little hooks. I'm just gonna leave it there for now. It'll probably be easier if I remove the brake line. I'm going to need to when I get to the coilover, but right now, I'm just trying to get this hub piece off of the car. So next, best bet is to take off the axle, the wheel spindle nut. This is a 36 millimeter. And then we can work on the lower ball joint. Lower ball joint, usually a tool of this nature makes it easiest. This is a ball joint separator. Crank in there, pliers this open and pushes the joint up. We're gonna try this one. If not, I have this other one, which you slide in there and smack the end with a hammer. Now that we've got the ball joint loose, the wheel spindle nut removed. Up here on top you have two 19 millimeter bolts, and they have a, seems a little loose, but my 21 seems small. 22 millimeter nut. Okay, so right now everything should be disconnected. Lower ball joint, the axle. Depending on where you live, I live in the desert. It's obviously not corroded in there. You may have seen how easy it was for me just to push the axle. Use a little bit of strength. Just lift. If the axle doesn't want to go with, don't pull too much. Where's my hammer? There it is. Just butt it on the head a little bit. Try to squeeze it out with however you might be able to. Mine's still stuck in there. See if I can pull it this way. Not yet. I'm gonna leave it there for 1 second. There we go. Should be free now. It is. Let's try getting the knuckle pulled off. There we go. come out. Finally. Okay. This is a little heavy, but now you should have it free so we can get to that ball joint. When I use the ball joint separator, looks like some of the grease came out. I don't know the condition of it. The boot, actually it seems like it's in really nice shape. Look how loose. I don't know, it seems kind of loose. Like how easy it is to move. So it may, I have no idea if it's OEM or not, but it's pretty easy to get to these. So what we have here is a ball joint kit. We're going to use this to see if we can push the bushing out. Usually this doesn't work on a lot of the older Golden Era Hondas with their front suspension. This looks like the cup might fit back there. Let's try it out. See if we can't get the ball joint pressed out with the tool and the gun. Oops, I need the two. Oh yeah, that works easy. It's nice. I've never been able to use it for removing a ball joint on like all the old Civics and stuff that I have. I'm only able to press it in, but now we're gonna get that new ball joint set up in here. That was actually really easy and convenient with that. So this new one, excuse me. The new one does have the included clip, little snap ring. I don't know if this is gonna fit. Last thing you want, what I like to do is just see if it slides in. You don't want to tear that boot. Sometimes they're a little bit bigger, and this one is a little bit bigger. See how it's a lot wider here? So I'm just gonna lube it up in here. See if I can't just slide this guy far enough in. I don't trust it. Okay, let me check the other set. So when I ordered my arms, I didn't realize it came with ball joints. These are the ones that they came with. I ended up ordering another set. These look more similar to that. I don't necessarily care for the fittings on top though, like the grease fittings. So you could essentially use that. This one will probably just, yeah, looks like it'll fit right in. No issue. So let me just run this by you really quick in case you have this problem. Let me get this and this, and I'll show you what. This is an easy way of taking care of that. So remove the little retaining ring. It's not that hard. Just use some pliers and use a little bit of forearm strength. And just slide this puppy up all the way around. Just make sure you don't grab the boot itself. So it's not difficult. I've done quite a bit. And then spin it. Off it comes. So we don't want to get any of the grease dirty. Of course we want to retain that. And we're going to use this one. So now let's just wipe up any of this WD-40 stuff that's in there. I'm weird whenever I put my ball joints in. I like the cotter pin to like go forward and back, from front to back apart. So just right there. Now we need to line this up. Okay, so this one is, will it fit? Nope. So what we're gonna do, this is a lot easier on this side. Okay, let's get this thing lined up. Oops, lift it a little bit so it's on the tip of the knuckle. Get this thing on the top. All right, tighten it up again. That'll pull your ball joint and you'll watch it pull into the knuckle. It obviously bottoms out there. Let's back it up. Stop touching him. There we go. So, ball joint's in. Now you need to worry about your snap ring. So let's get that guy on. Easiest way to do that, some snap ring pliers. Do this before you attempt to put on the boot, because it is tough to get this thing over the boot. Put the boot on last. Just try to clean up any dirt to help. Less contaminants in there. Sometimes if you're having trouble with it, kind of lining up, just push down the most part that it's already on. There we go. Snap ring is on. Let's get your boot on. Squeeze it around that lip again. Sometimes spinning it makes it a little easier. Now, this guy. So I was able to grab that piece right there. Let's just start that. Get it over here. So feed it down on the lip. What I like to do is kind of like use your fingers to hold it in place. Let me do this. Pull this one down here. There we go. And then this little piece needs to go down a little bit more too. There it is. So now it's completely off. You can see it's completely on there. Snap ring as well. I guess they're not gonna pop out. I've always been curious as why some don't have that little snap ring, the little C-clip snap ring. But they don't. I've encountered a lot that don't, and I've never seen an issue. So let's get this back up onto the vehicle. I guess, I'm not going to put it on yet. I forgot we're doing the LCA, but this will get put back on once we get that LCA swapped out. So OEM sway bar end links, they will have a 14mm nut, and the end of the end link, a hex head socket or an Allen wrench, that's a 5mm, usually fits in there. I've noticed, say for instance, I might be able to just get the gun in here. Sometimes the end link is just like kind of stuck in that place, in that spot. Let me see if this kit, this kit came with a 14mm. So I'm just gonna try it on this one, see if it knocks it out. It actually did. So I was able to get that one free. This other one I cannot fit. There's no way it's gonna fit in there. Let me see if... Let me just try the ratchet. Sometimes you get lucky. Let me move the camera. Let's see if we can get this one off now. See how it was spinning, then I just pushed down on it. Just to kind of stop it. Easy. I was able to get it off that way. And then you can wiggle your arm around. Off comes the end link. So now we just have the 2 bolts. Let's see if we can tackle those really quickly. So this one I'm going to try with an extension. It's a 19mm. Alright, it was a little bit off of the angle. but if you get it loose, should be fine. And I imagine this one won't take much, just because it's easy to get to. There's that guy. And I think it should be it. Yeah, there we go. And looking at my old ones, like, honestly, let me see if I can zoom in. A little bit of crack in there. They don't look bad at all, though. This one is, I think it's hard to tell. Maybe a little bit of cracking in there. I don't know if these are OEM. Not sure if that signifies an OEM. They don't really look too bad, but I mean, we're already here. I did want to try to make the suspension as nice as possible again, and why not do these? It's really not too difficult to get to this and putting these on. So installing everything is just the reversal. Start with your arm. Start with the arm, do the 2 bolts, and then get your sway bar end link. Just match it up to this one. I don't know if I think they're like the same if you flip them around, but match them up regardless if you order the pair. Install those. They may have new hardware a lot of times, which is cool. Let me see, where's a small one at? So no, these actually have the Allen wrench fitting on the end of it. Some will have it's notched here like a 6-point, so you could put a wrench and then just tighten the nut, but these have the Allen wrench fitting, which will make them easy. And they even have a nylock, which is a nut with a nylon on the inside to lock it into place. So get that installed, get your arm up first, and then you can put the knuckle back on. I will get all that done, and I'm going to move on to my coilover. And then the outer tie rod is pretty easy job. You just have to loosen this nut from the outside. You can spin it loose, of course break this free from there, and then you can spin the new one on. I'm going to put mine on and leave it kind of loose, and that way I can try to set it up as straight as possible. If you're here as well, like, this would be a perfect opportunity to replace your axle. Mine seemed fine. I was spinning them and moving them, and the only play I hear is from the transmission. But that's a perfect opportunity to change your axle. I don't think it's hard to change axles on these vehicles anyway. If you need to get back in here, it's just that wheel spindle nut and the 2 bolts on top. You can move the knuckle forward and kind of spin it out of the way. So yeah, I'm going to get everything put back together really quickly, and then we'll move to the rear and just kind of get everything knocked out. One last tip is I like to leave both bolts just a little bit loose, because when the car finally is set on the ground, that's where the lower control arm sits naturally in its position it's going to be at for the majority of its time. Then I like to tighten them. The bottom front one's going to be super easy. This one, I think, with, I don't necessarily think a wrench, but a ratchet, when it's on the ground, I should be able to get up in here easily with the 19 mil, maybe a small extension, and tighten that. But I like to leave those loose while putting everything back together, and then finally tighten those at the very end. Just for reference, getting this off, mine was a 19mm nut. Of course, the cotter pin. To break this loose, you can use the ball joint separator, or you can get your hammer. Smack there. A lot of times it comes out relatively easily. Yeah. So I had already loosened a 24mm nut, and then you can just spin off your outer tie rod. I'm just going to put the other one on, kind of similar length, and leave it there, because once it's on, we can try to adjust it and get it just straight as possible. And same with these, like I don't know if they've been replaced, but mine look like they're in decent shape. Regardless, we are replacing these parts because it was what we wanted to do, so we're not worried about the longevity of the old parts. Okay, so a few tips I want to give you along the way. The new strut assembly was difficult to get the knuckle on here and get these two bolts lined up because of the sway bar end length. So this side I'm leaving it loose, the other side is still loose. I'm gonna try to attach those when everything is bolted up, maybe even when it's on the ground. I can't seem to lift the arm enough and compress this enough. Maybe the weight of the vehicle will do it. Also discovered my driver's side axle boot is torn, so I am gonna go ahead and just replace that now. I'm gonna pick one up from AutoZone. I've had really good luck with AutoZone axles. I like their lifetime warranty as well, so I'm gonna pick one of those up today, and I will continue finishing up the front probably tomorrow morning and move to the rear. Now at the back, as mentioned before in that video, it'll help you if you want to get these rear coilovers removed or the rear suspension. Sway bar end links, once again, similar to the front, 14mm nut, 5mm hex head. This is what I was talking about for the rear lower control arm. See how it has these 10-point bolts? And this is that socket that I picked up. That's the only way you can get those removed. And this one's just a regular bolt. Looks like a 17 mil there as well, so it should be relatively easy to get that off of the element. Super easy. So with the LCA out of the way, I'd already removed the sway bar end link. Now to give me plenty of room to get to the 17mm bolt on the bottom of the strut. I'm gonna see, when I first did this, I didn't have any of that removed. I dropped the two at the trailing arm, the front of the trailing arm. I think I might be able to, once that's out of the way, just kind of like pull the arm. I should be able to hopefully get the bigger strut in there. They're a lot bigger and you have this weird little box back here. So sometimes that can get in the way. On the passenger side, there's no problem. There's no box. It's super easy to get the new strut assembly in. Now we just got to get to the top. That involves, if you've never done so before, there's these little, can you see it in here? It's a little dark. It's where you get to the top of them. You have to lift your seats up, probably mount your seats up on the wall. That's what I did initially. And I'm gonna do that right now, just so I have full access to those and I can put the covers back on when I'm done. So with that out, let's try to get the new one in. Looks like they are side dependent. See how this one sticks out farther and this one as well. Like this one matches up with this side and the mounting hardware. So let's try to get that guy in, and then we'll work on the LCA next, and then we'll do the sway bar end link last. Square. Sucker around. So you want to leave this bolt a little loose because you also have a rubber bushing in there. We'll wait till we can put the wheel on and have everything compressed, and then we'll tighten it when it's on the ground. It's pretty easy to get to. You have a lot of room to reach back in here. Now, unfortunately, my welded nut popped off on the reverse side of the trailing arm, but not a big deal. I just grabbed an extra nut that I had and I fit it on there perfectly, and I'll just have to tighten it with a wrench and a ratchet. So that rear LCA was way harder than I thought. I think just because of the angle and the way it's like bent in there right now. Once it gets back down to the level of being on the floor, it should flatten itself out. It looks like it's, see how it's curved a little bit? I think that'll be fine once we lower it, but it seems to be okay. And that one also I left loose. Once the vehicle's on the ground, I'll tighten that one up also. But we can get this sway bar end link on now, and right now it's kind of in the air. When I get the other one up and off, I think it'll be easier to adjust it, because the same thing happened with the front. It was hard to get the first one on, and then when I had both loose, the bar kind of moves on its own. Makes it a lot easier. So we'll get to the other side first and do the end links at the same time, but I will get it tightened up right here. Alright guys, for the passenger side, I learned from my lessons. I did the rear LCA first. I'm not really worried about having that extra room on this side because you don't have that box there, and I should be able to get the coilover out relatively easily, but that was so much easier. I struggled with the driver's side. I mean, I figured it out finally, but it was a lot easier just getting this put on first. I may look for some nicer hardware for the end of the control arm, but right now it'll be just fine. Alright, passenger side was done. Quick. LCAs, end links, new quick struts. Let's get, if you're doing this, let's get your vehicle onto the ground, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten the 2 bolts for the front LCA, and we're going to tighten up the 2 for the rear, the one on the LCA and the one for the quick strut. Alright guys, so in conclusion, this gun actually did really well. Started taking some abuse from me already, and I'm rough on my tools. I use them pretty frequently, and it's a great addition to the collection. It's nice when I have someone over, we bust out 2 of these and just kind of start getting wheels off. It has some pretty good power. I didn't seem to have any issues at all, and definitely a nice gun if you're looking for something similar. I'll have a link in the description below. You can see the price point on it, and you can compare it to the Milwaukees and DeWalt's and whatever other brands you might want to use, but great gun. So goodbye coilovers, and here is the ride height where it sits after just first touchdown. I went ahead and whenever I kind of mess with suspension, I drive it back and forth over this bump in my garage probably like 5 to 10 times just again to get this suspension to settle. And then I went ahead and tightened up everything underneath that needed to be tightened while it was on the floor. This ride height seems like, I'm sure it's going to feel great again. It's a little high in the back. I'm sure that'll settle as we drive it around, but it works for me. I bet it's going to feel super comfortable again. And I'm going to take it to get aligned either tomorrow or the next day, and we'll wrap it up on this. The control arms actually look really cool. You'll be able to easily see them. I do think some nicer hardware would help out. Really cool product from Max Speeder Rods that they offer. Hopefully those bushings last. We're going to find out because this car will be daily driven pretty frequently. So thanks for following along today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. We will see you guys soon.